Welcome, Accomplices. I'm Lynda Norman. I'm a watercolor artist in the Okanagan Valley in the beautiful province of British Columbia. Today we're going to work with some masking fluid and learn how that keeps the white of our paper very crisp and beautiful to work with. Well, Accomplices, if you've been following along, you've probably heard me say a few times that I generally don't work with masking fluid. I like the masking tape resist for my birch trees and the things that I love to do. But there are times when a masking fluid really is what you need to do the job. You want to keep that white part of your paper, you want to keep a part of your design separate from a backwash so that you can go in and put some fine details in. And that's what we're going to explore today. We have PBO drawing gum. This is something that I've found to be very effective. It's quite liquid. It dries like rubber cement. And it dries quite quickly. There's this one I did this morning, and it's already dry. This one I did last night, just in preparation. And it's easy to apply. Sometimes, let me see if I've got one here. I've even put it into a fine line applicator bottle. And these little bottles are ideal. They have a needle point tip, and your masking fluid will stay precise when you put it on your page, so you can actually draw with this. When you close it up, there's a very fine needle apparatus in the center of the lid that will go inside. Now this is always the hard part, right? Is getting it back in that little hole. But if it goes, it goes into that little hole, and it keeps that opening free and clear of clogging. So that's a handy thing to have if you wanted to apply your masking fluid that way. I'll open this and show you how liquidy it really is. I've lined out my paper to do some 6x6 designs that I'm going to put eventually onto cradle board. And there was some extra room on the paper, so I've cordoned these off, and I'll make bookmarks out of these four. And so let me just show you, there's a bubble on the top, just how liquidy this is. So it's probably the consistency. We talked recently about the P.H. Martin's bleed proof white being the consistency of heavy whipping cream, heavy cream. This is more like, I would say this is more like 10% coffee cream, if you can use that as a reference. So it's fairly liquid. So it's easy to apply. With all of the ones that I'll be working with today, I've used just this brush. It's a handy dandy little brush that I picked up at the dollar store. Some people like to coat their bristles with soap before they dip it into the masking fluid. If I remember, I do that, but it's not always necessary as long as you clean your brush afterwards, because like I say, it does dry like rubber cement, so it's going to gum up your bristles for sure. But to apply it, let me see here. If I'm going to do a bookmark, maybe I will do something with a bit of a moon. That's a wonky one, but we'll make a circle. And then maybe we'll, oops, there's a drop on my other page. I will make a tree trunk, and perhaps just some, and this could be a snow-capped little hillside. And if I want this to be a winter scene, then I will just add this. And so when I paint my tree, these little pieces will be like snow-capped bits, right? All right. You can also spatter it, which is kind of a fun technique. And when that dries, you can start painting on it. And once your painting is dry, you rub it and remove it. So we'll go through that process. I see that I've really added a couple. Maybe that's Jupiter and Jupiter and Mars on the side of my landscape here. We'll dap a bit of that off. So, turn this back. This painting, or this, what will be a painting, was something that I did just freehand with my masking fluid and a brush, and just going to rinse that off a bit. And then for the moon, or the sun, or whatever it's going to turn out to be, I just used a little template, and I lightly drew the circle, and then I applied the masking fluid inside that circle. With this one, I was able to, oops, there it is. I went on Pinterest and pulled up this painting, a picture of a painting that I thought was quite lovely, and it had some white on it. And so I just used that as a general guideline, okay? Another way to do that is, if you wanted to do the whole design, is take your pencil, graphite, and just scrub across the back of your design. And then, it's probably not going to be dark enough for you to see on camera, but when you go back in with a something hard and pointed, and if you go through and follow the outlines of your shapes, they will appear very lightly on your paper, and then you can work with that. So give that a try. It's worth testing out, because I know a lot of times my students are a little fearful of taking that first step or coming up with their own design. It's hard for them, with all of the elements involved, to really imagine something. I think because a lot of us were taught from a very early age that it has to be just so. If that's something that, you know, the intuitive flow of watercolor has got you a little bit stumped, this is a good exercise to do that. It can give you a bit of direction. So let's work on some of this. This is Arches paper. I'm just going to take this off of the pad that I'm working on here. This is a very old version of Arches cold pressed paper. It was gifted to me. It's probably was in someone's studio for probably many years. It still works well. It's 100% cotton, 140 pound. Because it's old, what I'm noticing though with this particular pad of paper is that the gelatin that they've used for the sizing on it seems to have gone a bit off, so it does smell rather interesting. But if you can get over that, you know, and someone gifts you some beautiful old paper, go ahead and try. I found that Arches paper, no matter how old it is, I've never found the sizing to be broken down, that it affects my paper, just the painting. The smell, yes, that's an issue. Whereas other papers, I've noticed sometimes the sizing isn't as consistent, but I've never noticed that with Arches papers. So that's always my go-to. All right. So I just wanted to test. Let's see, I just applied that a few moments ago, and it's already pretty much dry. Unless I'm scrubbing with my paint, it's not going to be an issue probably. So I've got a little spray of Lily of the Valley there, some little snowdrops here, and this one I kind of did freehand. I just wanted to do sort of like a dandelion kind of thing, or is it a Queen Anne's lace that has beautiful little tiny white flowers on a flower head. And so this one I did freehand, just got some dots down there, and again I dotted most of them on with my little brush. This is a great place where that fine liner bottle would really be helpful to dot those things on. And then with the snowdrops, I just this one I did the painting, or the picture, and scrubbed the back with the graphite, and then traced it on. So I had a very light outline of these little white guys, just for the placement of them. I'm not going to worry much about the background. for me, that's going to be loose and intuitive. And because I've got this blocked off, I don't have to worry about saving those spaces for my flowers to show through. So I'm going to get things rolling here with my trusty Daniel Smith palette. I think today I might also use some of my beautiful new Rockwell paints as well on some of these in the background. Perhaps for this one, I have an idea for this piece here to be a little organic, and so you know, I think I'm going to cut this. I think I will cut it about there. That will give me enough room to. Normally I would use my my big guillotine cutter, but this is going to work just fine. It doesn't have to be all that straight. This will go on a 6x6 cradle board later on. I'll just set this aside. I just want that part to dry just a little bit more. So let's start on this one. I think what I want to do, I would like to do this whole painting because it's small. I will do the whole painting with my Lebanson Goat Synthetic Blend 1.5-inch bristle brush. My absolute favorite brush. I don't think I'd go a day without using it. And so I'm going to be able to, it holds a lot of water. I can get that on. I want this to be kind of an abstract, loose kind of background. I like that the abstractedness part of it sort of complements the definition of the flowers. So I'm going to give this paper a little bit of. It's 140 pound. I'm going to give it a bit of water because it's harsh. It's not going to react like some lesser quality papers. So I can get that quite damp and quite wet. And I'm going to give just my paints a little bit of awakening up. I can see some of my wells need to be refilled, but that's fine. I will do that later. All right. I want something that's going to contrast those little white snowdrops quite nicely. So blues and greens in the background, I think, would be probably where we'll head. And if I can get a bit of darks in here, they can end up being the shadows that indicate some leaf shapes. So we'll just get a bit of undersea green, Daniel Smith undersea green, and you can see where it's working with the water. It's branching out. It's doing some lovely organic things. And I think we'll just make some more leafy shapes coming out the back. And we'll do, like I said, this is going to be quite abstracty. This is Mayan Dark Blue, another one of my favorite colors. And we're just going to get some color in. You can see where the undersea green has really faded out nicely here, and just gently added some color to that background. Because I didn't measure this, I'm going to take the color right out to the edge on these, because when it goes onto my 6-inch cradle board, I don't want to have to be cutting off any of my design. And we'll just do another bit of dark green at the bottom. I kind of appreciate, and I do appreciate, the fact that my whites are going to stay white. I don't have to worry about it. I can really have fun with this background and let the colors flow and move as they need to on the page. Adding a bit of darks here and there for undertones and shadows. And we'll bring that down. Some of the white of the page is still going to show through even where I don't have the masking fluid. Now what I would like to think about here, I think, is under these petals, because I want that white to really pop, I'm going to go in and just add a little extra darkness under these petals and let that flow down. Into the design, a little bit of shadowy. In some places it's a little lighter. All right. Now we're going to let these colors dry, and then as soon as they've dried, I'm going to go in and I'm going to take off the masking fluid and deal with my flowers. Okay, so I'm going to set this on the side. And we'll work on the others. So this has a lot of masking fluid on it. This has a little bit and some spatter. And I thought the spatter would be kind of fun just to see how that pops. It just adds a bit of sparkle. So again, very similar to that one, but this one's going to be a bit more specific. See, I just about dipped my brush in my coffee cup. How awesome would that be? So I want to go in and get a background, but I don't want to maybe leave this one quite as abstract as that first one. But I do want some color back there. So, and I think for this one, let's work with our 3-line solo brush, just to get the water on the background. And in the piece that I had used as kind of a reference, just to get those little bells in the shape that I wanted them, it had a leaf coming up here and a leaf coming down here, sort of as a spray, with the bells hanging off. So I do kind of want to encourage that to happen. I think with this one, let's see if we can try something from the Rockwell line of paints. This is called Wild Iris. And I'm just going to put a tiny bit in my palette there. The Wild Iris, if I recall, has a beautiful blues and pinks and things that are going to just kind of emerge. So I just want to get some of that happening in the background. There's some pinks coming out of there. I want to kind of remember that leaf is going to go up there. Take it over top of these little flower shapes. And I think there was a leaf kind of coming down there, so I'll leave a bit of room for that to come down. The other color that I thought I would put in here it's called Dragonfly. I just have to find it. Nope, it's not. There it is. There's Dragonfly. And I think that one's going to be quite fun. And blue. Yeah, there we go. That's the. Give us a bit of blue in there. And there's the pink in that Wild Iris coming through, which is really fun. So we'll kind of let those colors dry a little bit. I'm going to just give them some texture. I just want it to be nice and faint in the background. Very lightly dabbing with the paper towel. and then leaving some darker areas in the shadow parts. All right. Back to my Lebens and Goat Synthetic Blend brush, and I want to add some green. Leaves, as you know, aren't always just a solid green, so I'm going to add a bit of blue in there, and we'll just give that some shape on that leaf. And I can go right over top of that flower because this leaf is going to go behind it. And so when I take that white off, the flower will be hanging in front of the leaf. And we'll make it a bit fatter. I noticed that there was one of my Rockwell colors had a beautiful greeny gold color to it, and I just want to add some of that in here because I think that would be really beautiful. And I just want to, the elf wings was a brown color. Yellow moss, that was the one. Such a beautiful color that sort of evolves from green to yellow. So we'll see how that works in here with our, give it a bit of room to play on the underside of these leaves where we want some shadow perhaps. And a little bit in the lighter areas. It's gorgeous how it just kind of wants to bleed out. I kind of love that quality in paint, and it really helps to appreciate the relationship between the paint and the water. You can see it's moving out. It's organically making a place for itself in this design. And as long as I place it into any area that's damp, it's going to want to push out and become more soft and organic looking. And I think I just want to bring that up a little bit more. All right. We've also got, I left a bit of space there. I'm going to make that leaf perhaps just a bit fatter there. And maybe this one can be a little fatter too. It's been a while since I've looked at an actual lily of the valley, so I don't know that that their leaves are fatter than that, but for this design, they are. Okay. I just want to check now and see if our it feels pretty dry. I'm just going to take a. What happens is the water and the pigment will sit on top of the masking fluid because it can't soak in because it's a rubbery kind of thing. And so I just want to dab that off so I'm not smearing it into my page. Now you can take the masking fluid off a number of ways. I just want to see if it's going to come off with my finger. It will. There we go. You can also use a kneadable eraser. And you can see that it picks it up quite nicely. And yes, I can now smell the paper. It's a good thing you don't have smell-o-vision because it's an odd little smell. The paper itself is still a bit damp, although the pigments seem to have dried nicely. And so I want to be really gentle with it, even though it is, you know, the beautiful Arche paper. But there, you can see how lovely these little shapes are now that the paint has dried around them. And we can go in with a nice fine tip brush. And these little guys are going to be, I mean, they're not going to be stark white, right? We're going to have some shadowing in them. And I love that the Moon Glow, I'm just going to get it a bit damper here. Moon Glow is a gorgeous granulating color, one of Daniel Smith's paints that I just have always loved. And I just want to give that soft, almost a bruised kind of effect. It's a purpley gray. There's a couple of other colors. Opus brand has a one called Ethereal, which also does the same thing. There's some wonderful paints out there. So we can use Moon Glow. We could also use any one of these. Harvest Oracle, for one, is, I think, a beautiful purple color. We'll try one of those on one of these little guys, just to give them a bit of shaping, a bit of shadowing. So let's put a little dab of Harvest Oracle here. It's not going to take much. And let's give that a try. It's just a gorgeous bit of purple. Oh, there's a bit of, there it is. And with this, I just want to touch the edge, because these little flower shapes are wetted. I just need to touch in where I want those little lines of shadow to happen. A little bit on the top perhaps, and a little bit underneath here. And because the shape of the bells are kind of droopy, and some of them overlap a bit, I do want to have just a bit of a shadow area to indicate where that is happening. Okay. Got a bit much on that one. We'll go back and try it again. Like I say, nature is perfectly imperfect. We will come up with some really nice, delicate. This Harvest Oracle from Rockwell Paints is absolutely gorgeous for these shadows on these little blossoms. Beautiful. Now, I mentioned the Moon Glow. I think it's probably woken up a little bit now. I'm going to go back in with that because it's going to be a bit of a stronger color, and I'm just going to enhance a little bit of these shadowy areas. And a tiny bit on the top. I'm going to add some green into that as well for the head of the flower. My friend Michelle Drootboom is a great advisor for me. She's in one of the paint groups I belong to, and we were talking the other day about shadows in flowers and how purple is a beautiful color, especially if you have yellow in your flower at all. Purple is the beautiful way to go with your shading and your shadows. Okay, So I'm kind of happy with those little snowdrops, I guess these are. And now I can go in with, let's see, a little bit of this undersea green. We used undersea green in the background here. It did diffuse really nicely. I just want to get enough on the tip of my Levinson brush. I don't want to load the whole brush, just want the tip. And I'm going to kind of see where I can make some stems happen. And a nice long one over here. And now that I've got that gorgeous background in there, I can go over the top. I'm guessing that snowdrops have little pointed leaves. I'm trying to remember. I don't have any in my garden, so I'm just trying to remember seeing them in other spaces. Watercolor does dry a little lighter. And the leaves probably are a brighter green in real life, but because I've got this soft background and I've got the green there, I just thought I would continue with this color. And then I'm going to use the side of my brush just to indicate some more leaf shapes at the bottom. And soften that a bit. And on second thought, I don't like these leaf shapes on the side. I'm going to there'll still be leaf shapes, but I just want to have them less defined. And like I said, they will soften and diffuse later. Because the rest of the painting is quite organic, I just want to leave them like that. And just a bit more water on my brush. And a bit more darkness there. It has buckled a tiny bit. Now I've got this darkness down in the bottom here. I will take off the rest of the spatter once it's dry. You can see I've got some spatter on the bottom. So we'll set that aside and let it dry, and quickly go back to just this one. I won't take the masking fluid off this one at the moment. It's still a bit damp, but you've seen how the snowdrops worked. But I think you get the idea. You know, you've got the freedom now to paint what you want to paint in the background and not worry about leaving that space. So I'm going to just do my typical Mayan dark blue with a little bit of, that moon's going to have some interesting cloud formations coming across it. And we'll throw up a little bit of a mountain shape in the background here. Those trees will come up in front of it. And there's Jupiter in the side. And these bits of white will show, or bits of white will show up as snow, perhaps, on the foreground. But it's going to be fun to see this night sky coming together. You can see here where this cloud is kind of diffused in the background. This one's going to be a little darker in the front. So we'll again let that dry for a few moments, and then we'll take off the masking fluid. See where we go from there. The other one that I wanted to show you was this freeform one that I did with the dots. I want the stems and the leaves to be kind of organic in the background too. So I just made some squiggly lines and went from there. So I'm just hoping that this is going to be dry enough. Will be in a few moments. I hesitate to use a hair dryer because I just feel that it doesn't allow the paint to do what it needs to do on its own. I'm a big believer in letting that paint fulfill its role in this relationship and do what it needs to do. And a blow dryer sometimes I think can really affect that. It has its place, absolutely. It can be really effective for for when you need it. But I think I would not worry about that. Another thing I would worry about too with the masking fluid is that a blow dryer might affect how it comes off. I know some people say that they would heat it with a blow dryer to make it come off better. I just don't think that that's the route I want to go with. So I think while this is waiting to dry, I'll give a quick backwash with my brush. You notice I didn't clean my brush. It's got that beautiful Mayan blue on it. It's going to give a nice dusty gray-blue background. And then I want to try to do something with the elf wings. It is a pinky brown, kind of earthy, understated bit of color. And I think I just want to have that, because I put the flowers the way they were, they reminded me almost like of a dried flower head at the end of the season kind of a thing. So I just want to throw a bit of this elf wing in the background and see where it takes things. It's a burgundy brown kind of thing, which is quite pretty. And I just will use what I've got in my palette here with the Rockwell paints, and this was the yellow moss, I think it was called. And we'll just give that a bit of an addition here for that. It's working well with the elf wing. And if I can see where my dots are, I just want to use this as a bit of a shadow under these flower heads. And again, it's just diffusing so beautifully. And it's going to sort of work its way up into these little white dots. It will act as sort of an indication of stems coming out to these little white parts of the flower. Putting this on fairly thick, a thick concentration. And we'll add a bit of that here in the base of it. The page is still damp enough that it's going to diffuse and move around a little bit. But I want this to be sort of, like I say, a dried floral situation. And if I can just go in with this, just with what's left on my brush with the yellow moss. And just throw in a few extensions. That pink in the background sort of gives it almost like a sunset-y kind of effect. And I'm keeping the page less wet, so hopefully it will dry quicker, and we'll take a look at that. All right, so we'll hop back to this one. I think we're almost dry enough. I just wanted to give you an indication of wetness off. Just want to give you an indication of the little dots, because they can be so fun. Now, because my paper was still a bit damp, some of these are coming off, and because I'm working at it, I am actually bringing more of the paint into those dots that's damp on the paint that's damp on the page. But and I can go back in afterwards. Sometimes it's easier with your finger because you can actually feel the texture of the little dots. And I think, having put those on, I'm not sure I'm crazy about the white of it, so I don't mind. I think I'm going to just encourage that paint ever so slightly, just to tinge those dots a little tiny bit. But I'm quite happy with that. It's a fun little exercise. Gives you the white space. You can go in afterwards and define and put some shadows in. So whether it's on a landscape or on a bigger piece, I think it's a good thing to get used to using masking fluid. In certain situations, it can definitely be something that helps you bring a little bit of brightness to your design. Thanks for watching today, Accomplices. I hope you like what you've seen. Please subscribe to my channel. Visit my website, bandrystudio.com. That's BANDRAOI studio.com. Or head on over to our membership area. We're going to have some fun things happening there soon.